Hey, what's the week look like schedule-wise, and how much can you work, and how much do they need time to just kind of lay low?
Yeah, we obviously we've got to, we got to get healthier, and it's been a 12 plus weeks of going straight, for these guys, and we just wrapped up meetings. Today was just strictly meetings and lifting. They're off yesterday. We will practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then they'll have a weight session or a conditioning day with Matt in the weight room, and they'll be off Saturday, and then we'll practice Sunday. So that's kind of the week. We'll start sending coaches on the road. Some will leave Wednesday after practice. And the rest of us will leave Thursday. And, so it's a full week of a lot of things. It's going to be a good time to, in our practice models of working with some of the younger players, some guys that have high volume of game snaps, probably won't take as many reps, at least in the first couple days, and kind of play it by there. So it's a great time to get a lot done. It gives us a chance to obviously get a jump on the Oklahoma State game plan, do some self-scouting of tendencies and things that we can really dive into a little bit more than we normally get to on a Sunday, Monday. A chance to continue recruiting and internally, but also now get out in some schools and some practices and some games. So it's an important week for us.
What do you need to get accomplished? What do you hope you guys can do to move this thing forward?
This week or just general?
Sorry. Especially with the self-scouting stuff like you
well,
talked about.
Again, your tendencies, where we got, where we can, but we do it every week. I don't want to make it sound like we don't. Tendencies and breakdowns and what can we do that, to break some of those tendencies and not be predictable on either side of the ball. We're going to evaluate personnel and breakdowns and all those things. But if it's, as always, I think anyone can stand in these every team that plays on a Saturday or Sunday can, if you can pull away a few plays or do some things when you kind of hit some bumps in the road, and now that we lost 3 in a row, if it was one or two things that we could easily just look at the film and say, hey, if we make this adjustment or stop calling this or maybe play somebody different, it'd be different. But that's not the case, and but it doesn't mean that we're going to keep pushing and working hard. And again, I go back to what I said a year ago, and I said it to the team this morning, is that if our process is still going to be the process that we go through, and we believe in that, but what I said to them this morning was, if you want to have an opportunity to play in December or January, you have to play well in November. And we have that opportunity to play in one of those 2 months if we play well in November. So we got a lot to play for there yet, and I really like the attitude and the resolve of this football team. I mean, there's a lot of things. Somebody said to me, I know I'm rambling here, but hopefully I give you all the quotes you need. But we're pretty frustrated. Obviously, we fell behind by a lot, battled back, but we lost by 12, right? A year ago, we lost at 12 to Oklahoma, and everybody stood up and clapped. So this program's come a long way, and we're proud of that. And now when people are frustrated with 12-point losses, we're probably where we need to be. Now we got to get it fixed.
One more from me. I wonder with your run defense, you guys make plays in some pretty key moments with stopping the run, and then obviously it hasn't been perfect either. Are there things you're seeing that in those moments that you make the play?
There's some things, and like you say, is it call related? Everything's going to be looked at. And again, I sat in the back of both. Nice thing was today we for me as a head coach is that you sit in the back of both meetings after I talk to the team. You have a special teams meeting, and then each coordinator's talking, and you're going to analyze the calls. What calls can be better? Okay, you analyze this, and where can we be better? There's times about when we're playing confidently and downhill, and there's times and there's clips that we show that we're tackling well, and there's a lot of different things that have to continue to be clean, and then there's times where they're ripping off a 15-yard run, and you got to be better than that, especially early. We have to get back to good things happening faster in the game, because this is a team that we seem to thrive on momentum and positivity early, and then sometimes we end up with our backs to the wall, and then we'll come back and fight more, and but you can't live that way and expect to pull them out all the time, as you can see the way this conference is right now.
You may have hit on it a little bit there, but when you mentioned playing well in November, what does that look like to you in your vision?
Well, again, we're going to find a way to win a game, in games. But again, I look at a lot of things that you can, we could break down. Like, one thing that we went into this game concerned about their play action ability to create explosive plays deep ball wise. I thought we did a very good job in that aspect. We took away some things, we just didn't take away enough. And then and again, we played them early in the year last year, but I walked off that field goal, and that's a really good football team, really good physical football team, and by no means did that surprise me that they won the conference, and that's still a really good football team. I was starting to watch some of the TV copies from Oklahoma State, as well. I watched through and different things as I watched, whether it be coach's copy or TV copies of games. And I mean, week 2 of the season, we're in what that was 8, I guess, 7, 8. That was week 8. In week 2 of this season, Baylor and Oklahoma are in the top 10 in the country, guys.
For recruiting purposes, it seems like a lot of the 11 a.m. kicks make it a little tough to get out and see high school games. I guess, how big is this week getting out to recruit for you guys?
Yeah, it is, but we're limited to days anyway. It's we're by the amount of days that we go out and we're allowed, we'll be pretty much at our limit by the end of this weekend. So we've utilized what we could to the best of our ability. There was the one week we went out pretty much locally. We might have had a guy or two also get out, but the one that everybody kind of knew, we went out in more mass numbers. And then the other days that we use, we kind of use them up. So it's not like it's as a D2 coach, and it was a limit. You just go every Thursday, Friday, you can go catch parts of games.
Lance, you mentioned that you guys were off yesterday. Did you see anyone or hear of anyone, like of the players coming in and still getting extra work in, even though you?
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, Sleeve has that, but today is a little different because of the lift. But they always do on Sunday. We have, it's a normal Sunday for us, but they have to check into the training room to make sure, health-wise, that if they're on the trip or things like that, and that's part. But yeah, there were guys around. I mean, obviously a little different chance, a little different schedule. I came in a little bit later after church, and Kenny Logan stopped in, and there's guys around. I mean, they're still here, and there's food and stuff like that. So guys are in the building, but again, there's also a time that we have to respect. Like I said, 8 straight games, really come out of fall camp. There's a time, not just physically, but there's time that we got to make sure that we're mentally as fresh as we can be, because of, you're getting closer now to the last month of academics, and things start piling up that way. But, we're doing a very, very good job in the classroom. But we've got to keep it holistic of where we can be as physically and as mentally healthy but ready to be challenged here for the month of November.
How does that level of engagement compare to last year's bye week, if you remember that at all?
I don't remember last year's bye week, to be quite honest. That's where I'm bad. What week was it even? After Iowa State. Yeah, there was 4. So that was what, about 5 weeks in? That was probably after 5 games. I said it before, that's probably more natural, I think, of a bye week because your non-conference games and kind of where it can be. But when I saw this, I kind of look at it as from the days when I used to have to schedule more games myself, is you look at it, you don't want it after game 1. You really, so I looked at, the West Virginia game as probably the other option, just the way our schedule is put together. It may not be true, but I'd rather have it now. And that's one of those, the more you do it, the more you just focus on what you can control. And right now we can control kind of getting this team, in a pretty good mindset here for these last 4.
To cut a 25-point deficit to 5, it would have been the 3rd biggest comeback in KU history if you would have won it. Can you take positives out of that? I mean, and how did you feel at that moment? Here you're playing Baylor. Did you feel like we got this thing?
Never felt did we have it, by no means. But I think, what was it, 6 minutes left, something like that, when we score and we can get a stop. And, things were definitely, the momentum had turned. And, you look back to some of those early games in the season, things like that. You're like, hey, this, the thing is at halftime, though, it's pretty frustrating and everyone is disappointed and that. But you kind of have to, I know I repeat myself a lot in here, is you still go back to the things that you have to do to be a consistent winner and build a consistent program. And that's trying, though we're emotional and intense and competitive, it has to be consistent within what we do at certain times. And that's our weekly approach and things like that. So probably the best thing I could think of at the moment at halftime was, it's just like being up by 25. We're going to coach and we're going to play hard as if it's a 0-0 game. And then, but being down a little bit and having our backs to the wall is that we're going to get our pride tested a little bit. We're going to see what we're made of a little bit in some areas. And again, we talked about the moral victory thing. We've done all that kind of stuff. We talked about margin of losses. We're not. But the thing is, anyone that's been remotely engaged in this program can notice the difference by how those guys keep battling and finding a way. And it's not always going to be pretty, but nobody said this was going to be easy when we showed up here. So we're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing it our way. And again, we're going to find a way.
I just wondered, in all your years of coaching, is this a normal injury year? Are you guys going into bye beaten up? How would you describe the status of the team physically compared to your career?
That's a good question, Gary. Some years you get really lucky. I'll say this. Probably a little bit more on the higher side at the skill position area of guys that you guys like asking questions about. And normal, I've thought we've done a pretty good job in some of that, but we'll see. The list got longer yesterday, so we'll keep seeing where it goes. But Trent Carter, our head athletic trainer, his staff, I probably should have said this long ago, but they're the best I've been around. They do an excellent job as well. Our doctors in their treatment of our student athletes, the response and how we're able to get things done. And there's a way to get them on the field in a healthy, safe way, I guess, within the game of football. They do a great job with that.
You mentioned guys we like to ask about. Are there any of those guys?
Nice try. Well, I think we go on Mondays now.
Any of those guys that we like to ask
We didn't
about
practice today.
that you think this bye week will help out most?
I hope it helps them all. Okay. A for effort. Yeah, it's non-practice day, as you asked about everybody that came in the building. The list is the list. We don't have. I hope it helps everybody. But as I said, guys with a lot of snaps and all that, it's going to be it'll be a little different week. For some of our guys that way holistically, so I can't even tell you that some of those guys will even be in that mix, even if they were available. So
Now 2/3 of the way through the season, from your perspective, when you think back to the start of the season, have there been any big picture, like pleasant surprises for you, whether it be the team as a whole or individual players?
I think the team as a whole. You've asked in different ways in here if we're ahead of schedule or is this. I still think when you stop for a moment, and look at it. I don't. I don't know how they sit down and figure out how many games you're supposed to win a year and who does all those things. But I know if those people who make a living doing that and had us, we're pretty far ahead of what they thought. So I'm holistically proud, but as I said, I'm always wanting more. So it's kind of a balance in there of where we're at. But I like where we're considering how we're handling things. Our early season explosiveness was great, but you can see when you don't have all the same pieces of the puzzle, it changes a little bit, and it changes a little bit who you are. That doesn't mean other guys aren't working hard or doing things. You just kind of change yourself a little bit. I think I've said it probably last month straight is, again, you watch the other games, the rest of the evening, day and evening, how closely competitive this conference has become. And it's going to be a battle, and that's the part I think our guys have embraced as well. And being a part of that is where we're at. We're not backing down from any challenges. I see us in some areas where we're getting stronger. I say stronger depth-wise. I see Lorenzo McCaskill and Eric Gilliard playing more and playing better football, giving us some extra physicality inside. Those things are encouraging. Kalen Gervin played the whole game out at corner. Hopefully Kobe makes it back sooner than later. So again, I think if you can weather those storms, Marj Adams-Reed had to play his most football as a Jayhawk, which at the end, hopefully he's going to help you. We don't know how long Mike will be out. So those are things that as you work through these periods, hopefully it's going to help you as you come out of it.
You just mentioned how tough this conference is, and you've talked about that plenty. And I think it was last week that you said those meetings with the other coaches, that's part of the discussion. When you're having those discussions, are they talking conference-wide, or are they complimenting you and what you've done here? Is that happening? Are you starting to hear that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. When you meet there, they're very complimentary at the beginning of the conversation of what they've seen on film, and probably more even the ones that have been around a little longer of what because what they've seen, and it's probably a little bit more what we did the second half. It's the part that I think coaches kind of really look at is not saying that but playing hard for 60 minutes and doing those things and engagement on the sidelines. And there's just stuff that people will say in different conversations that makes you feel like, if they're noticing, it's making a difference, and you got to stay the course with that stuff. But yeah.